Ludicrous Dana White has made huge buzz as he has anticipated that Jake Paul will take out Mike Tyson in their exceptionally expected session. Anyway, Tyson's past rival has sent a savage admonition to Jake Paul about the peril that looks for him. 51-year-old Kevin McBride, who crushed Tyson in 2005 through TKO, discussed what it was preferred to be punched by the fighter. He let Moment Club know, "When Tyson hit me, I swear I saw leprechauns playing drums in my mind, so I got hold of him in a wrestling hold and murmured to him, 'Is that all you got?' And he went off the deep end. He chomped Miles so hard it was the most horrifying aggravation that I at any point felt in my life. As he pulled away, his mouthpiece dropped out and thought, say, thanks to God he had." His mouthpiece, and McBride further referenced that in the event that Tyson hadn't been wearing a mouthpiece, he would be recognized as the Irish heavyweight with one areola. He noticed that assuming that the battle is watched in sluggish movement, it's feasible to see Tyson knowing his areola before the forthcoming match. McBride offered Paul some serious guidance. He said, "Continue your hands up and watch that he doesn't let out his mouthpiece. And assuming that he tells the ref, I caution Jake Paul to ensure Mike doesn't let his mouthpiece out, since supposing that he does, no one can tell what will happen. You don't have the foggiest idea what Mike Tyson will do. He's a fearsome man." McBride then commented that it takes a ton of boldness to step into the ring with Tyson, even in his 50s, whether one is a YouTuber or an expert contender. He underlined that Tyson isn't to be undervalued. Making sense of that, as a warrior, Tyson is completely expectation on winning and taking care of business. McBride added that Tyson would have zero desire to think back and feel that he let Jake Paul free. He made sense of Tyson is going in there to win, and Paul should be on his best structure to endure. I can tell from the media that Tyson has done as such far that he needs to when it's in his blood, the opposition won't ever leave him. Some accept that Paul might have the option to accomplish a triumph due to Tyson's old age. Anyway, McBride accepts the amazing fighter actually has significantly more in him. McBride remarked that Jake Paul is improving and acquiring ring experience. However, he will ultimately understand the power Tyson has, in spite of the fact that Paul is about a portion of Tyson's age. McBride noticed that Tyson remains very hazardous, underscoring that power is the last thing a contender loses. He brought up that even in the brief recordings Tyson has been posting, the power he shows is unimaginable. McBride added, "All Mike Tyson needs to do is associates, and Jake Paul will be seeing Christmas lights for the following week. He'll time him in the several rounds, and it will be over. Tyson is a legend, and on the off chance that he thumps Paul, you can let him that know. If he has any desire to vindicate his loss, how about we get it on? I'd emerge from retirement for another Mike Tyson battle. Or on the other hand, if other man takes out, I'll hop in the meantime," after the WBA proclaimed that they are available to Jake Paul confronting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. soon. Jake has examined the chance of vying for a confining title since venturing to the battle scene. Jake Paul has focused on a few significant goals, like getting down to business with high-profile adversaries and pursuing titles up to this point. He hasn't exactly raised a ruckus around town, with his record essentially highlighting triumphs against previous MMA warriors and a modest bunch of territorial fighters. Initially scheduled to confront Iron Mike Tyson in July, his session was deferred to mid-November. In the meantime, he took on Platinum Mike Perry and got a conclusive triumph, despite the fact that Perry is likewise a previous MMA warrior. The breeze grabbed the eye of WBO President Gilberto Mendoza, who indicated that a title shot maybe not too far off sooner than anticipated. Mendoza uncovered that Jake is available to seeking a belt against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the previous middleweight champion. Jake has now tended to that thought. Jake expressed that he is looking for the hardest contest on the planet and referenced that he is as yet pursuing big showdowns in the background. He uncovered that the WBA is keen on setting up a battle among him and Julio Cesar Chavez for the WBO belt, which might actually be a big showdown battle. Recognizing that he is just 4 years into his vocation, Jake encouraged individuals to unwind and slowly inhale, guaranteeing them that he intends to handle this large number of difficulties and battle the hardest rivals. Eventually, Jake added that he isn't apprehensive about battling anybody and is hoping to challenge himself with his rivals. Lennox Lewis anyway accepts that Tyson represents a huge danger to Paul in their impending standoff. Concerns weigh that Tyson may be entering an uneven match, particularly after Paul's conclusive 6th-round knockout of Mike Perry, who stepped in as a substitution. Tyson, who resigned in 2005, hasn't battled since his dreary draw against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020. Lewis once Considerable opponent to Tyson contends that Tyson's broad experience could give the edge in a meeting with the gatekeeper in May when gotten some information about his interest for the contender security. Lewis commented, "My primary concern is for Jake Paul. Tyson actually has the punch as proven by the manner in which he raises a ruckus around town. On the off chance that Jake Paul gets one of those punches, it will make an imprint. I'm mindful that Jake Paul is quick to try not to get hit." Lewis further referenced that Tyson is gifted at approaching and removing the ring, recommending that it could involve time before Tyson's methodology challenges Jake Paul's safeguard. He noticed that he had seen Mike a long time prior, and Tyson looked great strolling around without a shirt and flaunting his constitution, showing that he is preparing. Yet Jake voiced his certainty in front of his battle with Tyson, pronouncing his purpose to convey one more knockout and quiet his fault finders for good. He conceded that many named him as foolish for acknowledging the demand. Seeing it as a bet, at this point, he focused on that thinking about facing critical challenges was exactly why he was in the game. Jake communicated his esteem for Mike, hailing him as a legend and putting him among the two most famous fighters in history, right close to Muhammad Ali. He recognized the honor of going head-to-head against Mike, yet additionally clarified that he was meaning to guarantee Mike's Nate Diaz, an unbelievable name from the UFC's brilliant days, wandered into the boxing ring to challenge Jake Paul, the YouTuber who has changed himself into a fighter. Diaz displayed his brand name sturdiness by going all the way in each of the 10 adjusts anyway. In the wake of being wrecked in the 5th round, the appointed authorities granted Paul a consistent choice triumph. The contender guaranteed it was the least demanding battle of his life and feels he ought to have won. He added, "That was the greatest I've at any point been, and the laziest I've at any point been." He's not extremely unnerving, so it was difficult to give an about. "I actually think I won the battle. I think lost 2 rounds in the entire battle." Diaz further commented that Jake was his most ideal choice at that point and depicted the battle as the most straightforward of his life. Contrasting it with a preparation day, he noticed that it was the greatest he had at any point been, and the longest he had at any point battled. At this point, actually observed it to be the most straightforward battle he had at any point experienced, in spite of recognizing that each battle is testing no matter what the rival is. Stressed that this specific battle was uncommonly simple for him when gotten some information about the impending battle. Diaz stayed undaunted in his forecast that Iron Mike would win. He said, "I like it. I believe it's cool. I think Mike Tyson, as far as possible previous competing accomplice of Jake Paul, Anthony Taylor, has compared Mike Tyson to a sheep to the butcher." As the eagerly awaited and dubious fight among Tyson and Paul approaches, Taylor, who once prepared close by Paul, noticed Paul's new knockout triumph over Mike Perry as verification of his developing ability. Taylor said, "Mike Tyson needs to follow some guidelines from KSI's experience and haul out of his battle against Jake Paul. I've worked with Jake in the background, and trust me, you haven't seen what he's equipped for. Tyson is a sheep to a butcher. I stress over a concussive consummation in light of the fact that Jake is a genuine warrior now." Anthony Taylor initially further commented that he has known Jake for quite a long time and has seen him form into a genuine warrior. He proposed that whenever Tyson tires, Jake will profit by the open door. Taylor commended Jake's cardio, portraying it as next level. He cleverly contrasted Jake's technique with Homer Simpson, who waits for his chance, retains a few discipline, and afterward takes out his depleted adversary. Taylor brought up that Mike is 58 years of age and is probably going to tire rapidly following Paul's new win against Perry. He took a punch at UFC warrior Alex Pereira, prompting hypothesis about a possible matchup between the two. By UFC president Dana White has since excused the thought in a meeting with Dynamite Sports, expressing that he doesn't imagine the battle happening. White uncovered that he wasn't in contact with Perry for a long time and was all the way unaware of everything going on in regards to Jake Paul's battle. He was traveling in Italy and knew practically nothing about the occasion. White excused the media inclusion with regards to this issue as ridiculous. He admitted that his advantage in Jake Paul disappeared after Paul's loss to Tommy Rath, bringing up that when Paul confronted a doc who was certifiable fighter, he lost. White stressed that he wasn't holding on to any enmity towards Paul. He just had moved Sunrise from following his vocation. He further added, "It doesn't actually occur to me. I have no hamburger with him. They're attempting to get me killed. No one's attempting to get you killed particularly. Listen, I regard Perry more modest, more established. I mean a similar diagram. They're battling more established, more modest folks that it's I in a real sense. Don't even for 1 second consider him any longer. It's all junk." In July, Nikisa Bedarian, Paul's supervisor, affirmed that Tyson had continued his rec center routine, zeroing in on strength and wellness. However, he hadn't begun boxing again. The prestigious fighter has, as of late, made a rebound, sharing a 7-second clasp on Instagram, where he shows his power with amazing pad work. The video uncovers Tyson's dexterity and sharpness. Yet, in spite of his noticeable ability, there stays a feeling of worry inside the boxing local area about his status to confront a rival 31 years more youthful in. The meantime, Jake Paul has as of late reported his setup of 5 adversaries. He intends to look after his November match against Mike Tyson. True to form, the long-term olds list includes no unmistakable or veteran fighters focused on widening his boxing abilities. Paul complied with his booked battle and faced ex-UFC contender Mike Perry on battle night. Paul's level benefit was clear and demonstrated critical. He wrecked Perry in both the primary round and later in the match, at last accomplishing a technical knockout triumph, despite the fact that he keeps up with that he's not minimizing Tyson's capacities for their forthcoming session. Paul, as of late, revealed his favored future rivals on the Full Send webcast, from experienced fighters and UFC warriors to web-based entertainment stars. Paul appears to be quick to test his abilities against a large number of enemies as he tries to widen his inheritance. While his victory over Perry could address the pinnacle of his profession, Paul keeps on being labeled as a Utah fighter. In spite of this name, he stays unflinching in his journey to challenge probably the most conspicuous figures in battle sports. When gotten some information about his future goals, Paul answered: Alex Pereira, Conor McGregor, Canelo, KSI, Tommy Fierceness. Pereira and McGregor stay under UFC contracts for numerous forthcoming battles, so it would take a huge change in Dana White's situation for either to be permitted to battle. Paul saw Canelo Alvarez with his noteworthy record of 65 expert battles and various world titles across various weight classes ought to be seen with comparative mindfulness, as the UFC hybrid matchups. His tremendous experience makes it rash for any overseeing body to endorse a session against him without serious thought. Anyway, KSI and Tommy Rage are undeniably more reasonable choices when interrogated concerning why he hadn't yet participated in a battle with KSI. In spite of long periods of antagonism between the two, Paul gave the accompanying support. It's really the trouble in sorting out the weight. The first arrangement was 185, yet we're both way over that. He's strolling around at 205 and I'm at 212. The most reduced I could go to now would be 195, and that would be troublesome among the 5 matchups. One of the easiest could be a rematch of a prior conflict. Paul is quick to retaliate for his only expert misfortune to Rage from February 2023. In that session, Jake even prevailed with regards to wrecking Tommy close to the end. At the end of the day, missed the mark on the appointed authorities' scorecards. Jake added, so about sorting out, he can have anything he needs. The battle will be in London. I simply need him to think twice about the weight. Then again, Jake Paul has gone under examination following his new battle against ex-UFC warrior Mike Perry. Allegations of PED use have surfaced, especially from Dylan Donnies, an individual from Conor McGregor's group, who has claimed that Paul might be utilizing steroids. Perry additionally remarked on Paul's huge actual change in July 2024, recommending the expected abuse of cushions to put on 25 pounds. I don't have the foggiest idea how somebody does it. I surmise without a shortcut, Perry said during an appearance on Battle Center television. As of late, Dan has shared an image of Paul via virtual entertainment that was obtrusively set apart with skin breakout in a post on X. The later FC contender expressed steroids are terrible children. He presented similar picture on Instagram with the message WTF in an emoticon for giggling. A couple of months prior, Paul went through a great change as he arranged for his rescheduled battle against Mike Tyson to hit Tyson's heavyweight imprint. Paul is said to have built up by 30 to 40 pounds, despite the fact that he once tipped the scales at 230 pounds. His mentor Shane Mosley saw that Paul kept up with a similar nimbleness he had at 185 pounds. The firmly established hostility among Donnies and Paul made it expected whenever Donnies enthusiastically jumping all over the chance to target Paul. Despite the fact that allegations have been collected, there is no substantial proof to prove the charge that Paul has at any point turned to PEDs in the domain of sports huge weight gains. For example, those accomplished by Paul frequently trigger wariness. Web-based entertainment immediately hummed with responses, with numerous clients hypothesizing about the unfriendly impact of potential steroid use. Notwithstanding these charges, it's pivotal to recognize that skin inflammation and scabs can have different causes past steroids.